Hi folks, welcome to Kendo Rant. Hope you're having a great day. Right, I gotta stop doing this. Right, right. Before we get started, don't forget to shop at KendoStar. I say it every time. You know KendoStar is my website. It's a brilliant equipment website. It's the best one in the world. So go and shop at KendoStar.com now. Right, so before I get into the questions I've got today are from the Kendo Show Early Access group. If you're not in the group, get in the group. There's a link in the description down below. It's tingling now. I've ripped that tape off. Anyway, so before I jump into the questions, though, I want to talk about the 8th Dan Championships. I did put up a video before the championships happened, talking about a few of the players and sort of my thoughts on it and stuff. And people have obviously reacted really well to that, and they've asked me to talk about my thoughts on the actual tournament. So it was fantastic, wasn't it? Great. Wasn't it just great? I mean, it always is. Obviously, massive congratulations to Eiga Naoki-sensei for winning. He was amazing. He was just on fire throughout the whole day. I think somebody said that every point except one was men. And everything, and he scored one kote and everything else was men. And it was just amazing just to watch how he played against the other competitors. Obviously, everybody's such a high level, and the way that he was able to apply semi, get them to kind of slip up really, or you know, he was able to force them into presenting an opportunity for him to make a perfect strike. It was great to watch him play that day. Also, there was some surprises, of course. Yeah, of course, both the Miyazaki senseis, both brothers, didn't get as far as many of us would have expected, but of course they still had some amazing matches. The match, of course, Miyazaki Masahiro sensei's match versus Yamamoto sensei from Osaka that does Jodan. That was a really awesome match, and I mean all the matches throughout the day. Tani sensei, he was on fire as well. Lovely points that he got against Miyazaki sensei, actually, the men and the kote kaishi men, and it was Matsumoto sensei, wasn't it? Yeah, was in the final with Eiga sensei. Some of his points throughout the day were just superb. Just, you know, but you know, that's why they're all hachi dance. But beautiful to watch. If you haven't seen it, I did post on the KendoStar website, actually, on our blog page. I did post the full videos of all of the ippons from there that were filmed by the All Japan Kendo Federation. So go and check those out too. If you go to the KendoStar website, just go right down to the bottom, you'll see the blog articles. And if it's not on the top page, because it depends when you're watching this, just click the view more button and they'll all come up, and they are in there. You can search 8th Dan as well, and the blog article will come up. You'll get the bonds from the 8th Dans, and there's also another video reel of just Eiga sensei's points as well. So really, really great to go back and watch if you haven't done so already. So first question. I was at practice last night, and when we were getting changed, I noticed many of the older sensei were wearing obi under their hakama. I was wondering what you think about wearing an obi, and do or have you worn one when practicing? So an obi is like a belt. There's different types. There's ones that are specific for kendo, which are not quite as wide as the ones that are more traditional, what's called a kaku obi. They're a bit wider, and some of them fasten with Velcro. They're just plain colours. Or the kaku obi, which is somewhat wider. It has to be tied traditionally. It's not actually specifically for budo. It can be used for budo. You can use it for kendo. You can use it for iaido. But it's just part of Japanese clothing. So people wear it when they wear a kimono or something like that, for example. I don't wear an obi when practicing kendo. I know many people that do. I have worn one in the past. I don't particularly enjoy wearing one. I don't feel it necessary to me. So yeah, not many people in Japan wear them. actually. Some people do. It's not totally unheard of, but the majority of people don't. So yeah, I don't bother with it. I don't find it beneficial. I don't see it as a super beneficial thing, but those that do like them swear by them, and they do say that it does help them with posture and breathing and stuff like that. I don't find those benefits from it, so it's kind of one of those your mileage may vary questions, really. Okay, what rank do you think it's okay for someone to start competing in Shiai? I think people should compete in Shiai shortly after they start wearing Borgo. Anytime from then. I don't see a particular... If you're participating in Jigeko, then you can participate in Shiai. I do think there's a problem sometimes when people are put into Borgo too early and they go into Jigeko too early. At my club, actually, we don't do much Jigeko when you're first in Borgo. When you start to wear Borgo, actually, we don't actually do that much Jigeko. So I'd probably give it a little bit longer for some of those guys before putting them into Shiai, because obviously a load of new things crop up in Shiai, a lot of new pressures, a lot of new things. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, if you're regularly participating in Jigeko with your club mates, then I don't see what the problem is with you entering the Shiai. And, you know, I'd encourage you to do so as well. Obviously, you have to have realistic expectations. You probably won't win your first tournament. It's not unheard of, but it's unlikely. But, you know, go out there and just do your best to learn as much as you can from the experience of joining the Shiai. And then once you've got a few under your belt, then I'd do my best to enter as many as possible. It's very... tournament Kendo Shiai is a very important aspect of Kendo as a whole. So if you don't participate in Shiai, you're missing out a very, very important element of Kendo. It's like not grading. If you don't grade, you're missing out a very important element of Kendo. It's like it's almost as if you didn't do any kata. Not doing any kata is also a detriment to your overall full understanding of Kendo. Likewise, if you were only to do one of those to the exclusively to the exclusion of others, I think is the sentence I'm trying to string together in my head. If you're only to do one of those, of course, that will be no good either. So if your only focus was Shiai, or if your only focus was grading, or imagine if your only focus was kata, then of course you're not going to become a well-rounded, experienced kendoka. I'm working on my Tenoichi, and I was wondering what would be more beneficial for this when training at home. Suburi with a Shinai or Suburi with a Bokken? Keeping in mind that at this point I'm not hitting any targets outside dojo practice. So, it doesn't make a massive amount of difference, frankly. I think I'd probably stick with the Bokken, but the reason I say that is because it won't help improve your Tenoichi any more than doing it with a Shinai would. Potentially it would, actually, because the way that a Bokuto is shaped, a Bokken is shaped, is it's oval, so it helps you grip it properly. It's harder to grip it from the side. So you'll start off with a more correct grip. So let's go with that first off. If you use a Bokuto, you're more likely to hold it correctly in the first place, which will lead to better Tenoichi. Secondly, don't overemphasize, Tenoichi is super important and is definitely something that you can improve with your Suburi. But also, if you're able to practice Suburi with footwork, make sure you're not over-concentrating on your Tenoichi only and forgetting your footwork, because that's the most important thing. Your Tenoichi is no use to you whatsoever if you haven't got decent footwork sorted out. I've got a video about how to practice Suburi at home. I reposted it on the blog just yesterday, I think. So go and check that out as well. You can search it in YouTube, practice Kendo at home, something like that. I'm sure it'll come up. Check that out. And yeah, I'd go with the Bokuto. But if you don't have a Bokuto, then use a Shinai by all means. It won't make a huge difference. But yeah, going off the way you grip the sword, it may be a little bit better. Okay, last one. When do you start training small techniques in your dojo? For better understanding where this question is coming from, in my dojo, our sensei teaches us to always cut big in Shinai Kendo. I have no problem with that, but when it's time for Jigeko and more advanced Kendoka are doing small techniques all the time and I can't hit anything. So, this is chair's sinking. This is a question that comes up reasonably often because I think it is a little bit misunderstood. When do I teach small techniques? I don't necessarily teach small techniques as small techniques. I differentiate between men's strike and a large men's strike. So I know that sounds a little bit odd, but I don't specifically say, right, this is small men. But the fact is it's a more realistic men's strike in terms of a Kendo encounter. When I say realistic, I'm not talking about before somebody comes on there and if it was a real sword then it wouldn't cut if it was a small. I don't care if it's a real sword, we're not fighting with real swords. What I'm talking about is, right, big swings are there for developing form and they're there for developing tenouchi, cutting action, and they do help you develop the ability to make small attacks. I am not a huge subscriber to the idea of you should only do large attacks, and once you're able to do large attacks, you can start doing small attacks. I've seen loads of people that are like third or fourth dan even that can't do big attacks very well. So, but they're still trying to do small attacks. So, and they're the people that often say this to people that they're teaching in their dojos. So, first off, I don't think it works like that. Here's what I do is we practice large waza, especially doing kirikaishi, uchikomi, and large striking. We do practice that in my dojo, but then I also, even for beginners that are brand new to wearing boga, and even some of the guys that aren't quite wearing boga yet, if they've got a basis but are starting to practice with the more experienced kendoka in that they're just receiving to them, then I teach them how to cut with a smaller action. However, whilst teaching them to cut with a smaller action, I place maximum emphasis on striking with kikentai no ichi, and that's the priority rather than making a fast strike. But of course, if you attack everybody like this all the time, every time you attack in jigeko in a realistic situation, you're never going to hit anything because they're going to see it coming, they're going to block it, or they're going to hit you before you moved. So, I think you have to start using the smaller strikes or the smaller swinging action, particularly in realistic situations like jigeko, and of course in shiai, but in jigeko. But I understand, because I've seen a lot of dojos that are similar to what your teacher's saying, and I'm not saying that big cutting is wrong or something before anyone says anything. I'm not saying that at all. Yes, big cutting is important, but yes, small cutting is not incorrect either. It's just what the problem is. The problem is what lots of people do is when they start to do small cutting, they get excited about hitting quickly, and they start flying forward like this. There's no kikentai no ichi. It's not a yuko datot. It's not realistic. It's not a valid strike. So you still have to, even if you make the smaller movement, man, it has to be with kikentai no ichi rather than just fast. And indeed, I think you wrote this further in the thread, but it's not about speed. Yeah, it's not. Kendo's not about speed. It is about opportunity. However, speed is undeniably a factor. So the reason that I can practice with a sensei that's maybe in their 70s or 80s and they can still strike me is because they create an opportunity and they capitalize on it immediately. If they created an opportunity and then took their time and were too slow to capitalize on it, then they wouldn't be able to strike. If they were trying to make a massive strike like this, it doesn't happen. If you watch the highest level of Kendo, you watch the 8th Dan Championships, you watch the Kyoto Taikai, nobody is attacking each other like this. Okay, so because it's a different concept to saying, well, it's not about speed. It isn't about speed. It's about creating opportunity. But once the opportunity is created, you have to immediately seize it. Okay, if you're a Kendo teacher out there, don't go too hard on only teaching these big strikes. They're important. They're definitely important. Do teach them, but you know, it's not fair to make somebody that's beginning to fall in love with Kendo spend their every Jigeko getting destroyed by everybody in the club because they're still trying to follow the advice of only swinging the shinai over the head. And if you put two, but if you put two people the same level and they start attacking each other like this, and they never hit each other, they never hit each other either. So it's delaying them progressing in the right way, in my opinion. Okay, that's the end of the questions. Thank you very much for them. These questions were all from the Kendo Show Early Access group. Next time I'll answer questions from YouTube. Leave me a comment underneath. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about next time. I hope you enjoyed the video today. And did I mention shop at KendoStar? I'm not sure if I've spoken about that recently. Like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Go to KendoStar.com, join the Kendo Show Early Access group, and watch me next time.